Hello everyone. Today we are going to read our next chapter, the Gupta and the Post-Gupta period. By the end of the 3rd century CE, the powerful empires established by the Kushanas in the north and the Satavahanas in the Deccan had come to an end. It was against this background that the Guptas emerged to dominate the history of India for the next 2 centuries. Sources. Information about the Gupta period is available from both archaeological and literary sources. The most important archaeological source is the Allahabad pillar inscription. Temples, paintings, and coins are some other archaeological sources. The main literary sources include the works of Kalidasa and the accounts of Fayen and Jaising. Political history. Chandragupta I 320 to 335 CE. The first powerful ruler of the dynasty was Chandragupta I. He married Kumar Devi, a princess of the Lichavi tribe. His empire extended from Magad to Prayag, Allahabad. He adopted the title of Maharaja Dhiraj, which means the King of Kings. Samudragupta 335 to 375 CE. Samudragupta, son of Chandragupta I, was the greatest ruler of the dynasty. An inscription engraved on a pillar at Allahabad, popularly called the Allahabad pillar inscription or the Prayag Prashasti, is the main source of information on his reign. It lists the regions conquered by the king. It also mentions the ancestors of the king. The Prashasti was composed by Samudragupta's court poet Harisena. Do you know what a Prashasti is? The word Prashasti comes from Sanskrit and means in praise of. Court poets often wrote accounts in which they listed the achievements of the king and praised him. They then engraved such accounts on pillars so that the people could read them. The pillar inscription of Samudragupta is one such Prashasti. Given in the box below are a few lines from it. They describe the kind-hearted nature of the king. Ask your teacher to explain it to you in simple words. Samudragupta, the kind king, whose mind busied itself with the support and the intention of the miserable, the poor, the helpless, and the afflicted, who was the glorified personification of kindness to mankind, whose officers were always employed in restoring the wealth of the various kings who had been conquered by the strength of his arms, whose many wonderful and noble deeds are worthy to be praised for a very long time. The Prayag Prashasti. The Prashasti lists the rulers against whom Samudragupta fought. It also describes the policy that he followed towards each set of rulers. In the north, Samudragupta defeated 4 powerful kings and numerous smaller kings. A large part of northern India became part of his empire. His territories were administered directly. Samudragupta defeated 12 rulers of the Deccan and far south Dakshinpad. These kingdoms were not annexed. The rulers only had to pay an annual tribute and accept Samudragupta as their overlord. Samudragupta defeated many kingdoms of the east such as Nepal, Assam, and Bengal. The rulers had to accept his suzerainty and pay him a tribute. Samudragupta also defeated the forest tribes of the Vindhya region. The rulers offered tribute and gifts to the king. Chandragupta II 375 to 415 CE. Chandragupta II was the son of Samudragupta. He was also known as Vikramaditya. He defeated the Shakas and took control of the ports of Broch, Cambay, and Sopara. He maintained friendly relations with the powers of the Deccan and the far south. Chandragupta II was a patron of arts and literature. The Navratnas or the 9 gems lived in his court. Poet Kalidasa was one of them. Fa Yan came to India during Chandragupt's reign and has written about many other poets, philosophers, and writers who lived at the court of the king. He has also written about the life of the common people. Later Guptas. After Chandragupta II, Kumargupta and Skandgupta were powerful Gupta rulers. During the reign of Skandgupta, the empire was threatened by the Hunas, the nomadic tribesmen of Central Asia. They ended the rule of the dynasty. The Post-Gupta period. After the end of the Gupta period, many kingdoms became powerful in both the north and the south. The kingdom of Harsh was dominant in the north. The Chalukyas ruled in the Deccan. The Pallavas were powerful in the south. Harshvardhan 606 to 647 CE. The breakup of the Gupta Empire was followed by the period of disorder. Small kingdoms fought against one another. Finally, Harshvardhan conquered these kingdoms and established a powerful empire. Sources. We learn about Harsh and the developments during his reign from two main sources. One is Harshcharita, the biography of the king written in Sanskrit by his court poet Banbhat. The book lists the military and cultural achievements of Harsh. The other is the account of Yunsang, who visited India during Harsha's reign. He spent 8 years in the court of Harsh. He has written in detail about the developments during these years. Besides these sources, inscriptions and coins of this period also tell us about Harsh. Military campaigns. The capital of Harsh Empire was Kannauj. Harsh conquered Punjab, eastern Rajasthan, and the whole of Ganga Valley up to Assam. He attacked the Chalukyan king Pulkeshin II but was defeated. Harsh did not annex all the territories that he conquered. He allowed some kings whom he defeated to continue ruling. They accepted Harsh as their overlord and paid him an annual tribute. They also gave him money and soldiers whenever he needed them. Harsh, a patron of arts. Harsh was a patron of arts and learning. He was a good writer himself. He wrote 3 plays in Sanskrit, Ratnavali, Priyadarshika, and Nagananda. Scholars such as Banbhat, Subandhu, and Dandin lived in his court. In his early years, Harsh was a worshipper of Shiva, but later he became a Buddhist. He was a tolerant of other religions. He organized a grand assembly at Kannauj in 641 CE. He also gave money to the University of Nalanda, see box. This university prospered and became a famous center of learning. Yunsang spent many years studying Buddhist texts at the Nalanda University. Nalanda is in Bihar. The university here was perhaps established in the 5th century by the Gupta rulers. The chief patron of the university was King Harshvardhan. The university was the first residential university in the world. Over 10,000 students and 2,000 teachers lived here. It was a university meant only for men. Students who wanted to join the university were interviewed by senior monks. Only when the monks were convinced that a particular student was serious and keen to learn more was he granted admission. The subjects taught included Buddhist philosophy, logic, grammar, medicine, and the Vedas. The library of the university was spread over 3 buildings. One of the 3 was called Ratnasakar, which means an ocean of gems. The university flourished between the 5th and the 12th century. Think and answer. How does the government patronize artists these days? Does the government still give money to educational institutions? Why? Yunsang's account. Yun Sang informs us that the agriculture was the main occupation of the people in villages. Traders and craftsmen lived in towns. People were simple, honest, and very hospitable. They lived together peacefully. Most people were vegetarians and avoided even onion and garlic. Yinsen notes the existence of a rigid caste system. People were divided into numerous castes and subcastes. The Chandals or untouchables were considered impure. They had to live outside the city. Find out, what name did Mahatma Gandhi give to the untouchables? Why did he choose that name? The Chalukyas. After the decline of the Satavahanas, many small kingdoms arose in the Deccan. The Vakatakas were the most powerful of these. They, however, ruled for a brief period. They were succeeded by the Chalukyas. Their capital was Vatapi or Badami. Pulkeshin II, 608 to 642 CE. The most famous Chalukyan ruler was Pulkeshin II. We get information about his reign from the Prashasti of his court poet Ravikriti. He informs us that the king defeated Harsh and checked his advance into the Deccan. Pulkeshin II also raided the territories of the Pallavas. He defeated the Pallava king Mahendravarman I. Pulkeshin II sent an embassy to the court of Khusro II, the king of Persia. This strengthened the ties of friendship between the two kingdoms. Yun Sang, during his stay in India, visited the court of Pulkeshin II. He also toured the countryside and was impressed with the administration. The Chalukyas became weak after the death of Pulkeshin II. The Rashtrakutas replaced them. The Pallavas. The Pallavas ruled from Kanchipuram or Kanchi near Chennai. Mahendravarman I, 600 to 630 CE, and Narasimhavarman I, 630 to 668 CE, were the powerful rulers of this dynasty. Narasimhavarman I defeated Pulkeshin II and captured Vatapi. After this victory, he took a title of Vatapi Konda or the conqueror of Vatapi. He also led successful expeditions to Sri Lanka. Continuous military conflicts weakened the Pallavas. Their rule was ended by the Cholas in the 9th century. Administration. We get to know about the administrative system of the period from the accounts of Fayen and Yun Sang. The king was the head of administration. A council of ministers assisted him. The empire was divided into provinces or bhuktis. Princes were often appointed as the governors of provinces. They were assisted by many officers. The provinces were further divided into districts or vishayas. The Ayuktas administered the districts. There were also a district council in each district which helped in administrating the district. The village was the lowest administrative unit. It was looked after by the elders of the village. Revenue. Agriculture was the main occupation of the people. Much of the revenue came from land. There were numerous revenue officers to collect the revenue. Merchants and craftsmen also paid taxes. The money so collected was used to ensure good administration, give grants and donations, and maintain the army. To maintain an army consisting of horses, elephants, chariots, and foot soldiers required a lot of money. New features. Some new developments took place during this period. The administration became decentralized. Local officers were independent of central control. They took decisions on their own. In the region ruled by the Pallavas, there were two local assemblies, the Ur and the Sabha. There were also several subcommittees which looked after the routine matters of the village, such as digging wells, making roads, constructing temples, providing water to the fields, etc. Some administrative positions became hereditary. On many occasions, the son succeeded to the post held by his father. The administrative officers came to be paid in land grants instead of cash. The officers were expected to collect revenue from his land. This made them even more independent. Whenever there was a weak ruler at the center, they broke away from his control and declared themselves independent. So this was our chapter, the Gupta and the Post-Gupta period. If you want links to other chapters, you can find them in the description box below. Thank you everyone.